Let me tell you who you are. The last time a generation like you came around, it was called the baby boomers. Somebody here may have met somebody in the baby boom generation. Let me tell you what they did. They were a big generation, just like yours. They were massive in size. In 1959, America looked almost like Leave It to Beaver. You ever heard of Leave It to Beaver? Unless you were black, then it was Left Out Beaver. But you know, this. Okay, anyway. I just saying it was calm, it was quiet. By 1969, 10 years later, the entire country was different. Not because they had a bunch of money, but by 1969, in a 10-year period, Jim Crow segregation was, the back of it was broken in 10 years. After 240 years of enslavement, slavery older than America, 244 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow terror, within 10 years, a young generation stood up, broke the back of it, and kept moving. Within 10 years, the environmental movement went from this quiet thing that wasn't being talked about to being on its way to having Earth Day and completely redoing American politics. Nixon wound up signing into law the EPA, Clean Air, Clean Water. Why? Because something happened in that 10 years. What happened? What happened in that 10 years is what's about to happen in the next 10 years if we're going to have a future. Young people looked around and they said, hold on a minute. What kind of country are you handing me? Young people said, you taught me about freedom. You told me that fascism was wrong and the dictators were wrong. You taught me about democracy and I can't find it in my own country. Young people said, you got me singing a song, America the Beautiful. And people are poisoning the land. Rivers are on fire. People are polluting the sky for money. But you got me singing a song called America the Beautiful. You had young people who said, you got me putting my hand on my heart, talking about liberty and justice for all. It doesn't say liberty and justice for all, except for those Negroes, or except for the women, or the gays and the lesbians. It says liberty and justice for all. Young people saw a contradiction between what they were being told by grown folks' mouths and what grown folks were doing with their hands and their money. And that generation, just 4 young people, February 1st, 1960, with no money, sat down at a lunch counter. And they said, I can't live with the contradiction. Do to me what you will. Beat me if you have to. Put dogs on me if you have to. Put fire hoses on me if you have to. I can't live with the contradiction. America has to be as good as it's promised. And they put the dogs on them. And they put the fire hoses on them. And they beat some of them. But they didn't quit. And you're living in a world that young people created, not old folk. Young people created a world in which a Barack Obama could be president and Michelle Obama could be the first lady. And you're looking down the field at Latinos and lesbians and gays, and a whole parade of beauty and majesty came out of the imagination and determination of young people. Now look at you. Your generation, bigger than the baby boomers. You are bigger than the baby boomers. You are the biggest generation of Americans we've ever had. You're the most diverse. You have the wisdom and the genius of all people in one generation. Every race, every faith, every gender expression, every sexuality expression. Every kind of human being is in one generation, and you mostly get along. You fight about stuff, mostly music, but not that. You're the most technologically savvy generation ever. You got more and better technology in you're sitting on your butt. Than the whole US government had when it put a man on the moon. You have more, better technology on your person than the whole government had when it put a man on the moon. Every one of you is a walking technological superpower. Now what will happen when you use those tools, when you use those gadgets, not as toys, but as tools? You should not be allowing yourselves to graduate off a cliff every spring with tons of debt and no jobs in America. You should not put up with that. That should be an outrage. That should be an outrage in this country. I'll tell you right now, you have a brilliant generation, a beautiful generation. You got better ecological values than anybody in this room, and because you grew up with it. You want to work. You want to create. You want to respect the earth. You want to lift people up. What if you launched a movement that said, you insist that this generation that most needs work gets to do the work that most needs to be done? What if you march and say you demand a youth green jobs corps, coast to coast? Anybody under the age of 25 who wants to work can work in America, put up solar panels, doing organic agriculture, putting up wind turbines, teaching young people about the environment. What is that in the movement? Who can stop you? Who can stop you? People are going to tell you, well, we can't do that. My God. Van Jones killing those young people. Really dumb. Irresponsible. America's broke. We don't have the money for that. We're broke. How can we do that? We're broke. America's not broke. We're the richest country in the history of the world. We're twice as rich as China. With a third of the population. We're not broke. America's economy right now is as big as all of Europe's combined. We're not broke. America's not broke. America's been robbed. But we're not broke. And you can take the money from Halliburton. You can take the money from the big oil companies. You can take the money from the coal companies, and you can give it to your generation. We'd be a much better country. So I salute you.